your conference at the Volksbühne on Sunday, November the 9th, 11 a.m. was cancelled on Saturday evening. Mm-hmm. What happened when you heard about it? How did you hear about it, and what happened afterwards? Who told you?
Yeah, near as I can recall, the way everything played out was we were informed of this by Roland Teller. He was, one of the main organizers.
A physician from Lübeck.
Yes, one and the same. And he was with us, and he informed us that he'd just been told that the event was cancelled. I was very upset, of course, that the event was...
That was like 10 p.m. on Saturday night? Around that?
Maybe it was 9 p.m.
But Saturday
night. It was Sunday night. Saturday night.
Saturday late evening.
Yeah, Saturday late evening. And so as soon as I learned this, I became upset. Of course, I was upset that the event was cancelled, but my anger was compounded by the fact that up until this point, the members of parliament who had invited Max and myself had yet to make a public statement about this campaign to smear us that had now resulted in an actual cancellation of our event.
3 days before.
Yes.
On the 6th.
Exactly.
And Gysi was involved.
Exactly. So from my perspective, the minute that this campaign had been unleashed publicly, I would have expected the people who had invited me to immediately launch into a counter campaign to defend our name, to stand up in our defense and establish that we are legitimate journalists and that these smears against us are baseless.
The allegations are wrong.
The allegations are, etc., etc., etc. That did not happen. It did not happen.
On the 6th?
On the 6th, on the 7th, on the 8th, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. All of this continued, and radio silence from the members of parliament. At this point, I'm not only am I upset that I haven't heard from them, but now it is borne fruit. This campaign has actually exacted a toll, and our event has been cancelled at the very last minute. So I said, I want to talk to Inga and Annette right now. Now,
on Saturday night.
On Saturday night. As soon as I learned that the event was cancelled, I said I demand to talk to them. I was informed then that Inga does not speak passable English, but then Annette does. So I asked for Annette's phone number. I was given her phone number, and I called her. And I called her and I said, I was I was polite but firm, and I explained what I just explained to you now, that I'm very upset because of the event and because there has been complete silence from Inga and Annette this whole time.
And the party and the faction.
Yeah. Exactly, and the party and the faction. And so then she said, okay, I will come. I'm not in Berlin right now. I'm in another part of the country, but I will make my return earlier than usual, earlier than I'm expecting to, earlier than I plan to. I'll come back to Berlin tomorrow afternoon so that tomorrow evening we can meet.
But for a counter campaign, you don't have to be at any certain place. There's telecommunication.
Of course. And in fact, we said to them, what I said was, we need a campaign from you right away. That's what we said, actually. What I said to her on the phone, Max later supported me in what I said to her on the phone, but I conducted the conversation. And I said, what I need from you, I was very specific and very explicit. I said, what I need from you right away is these things that have been absent these last few days, which is an explicit public call in support of us. Okay? Now, the following day,
You must mention that the conference was really cancelled. You were standing in front of a closed theater that was booked
Okay.
and rented. Okay, but continue.
Yeah, I'm going over the details that people don't know already.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that you'll fill in the other stuff. But if you like me to explain, yes.
No. Okay. So,
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm kind of glossing over the stuff people
You're
already
right.
know, just giving people the stuff people don't know. So I said, like, this is mandatory. That you need to do this. You need to come out with a public statement. And she says, okay, well, I'm going to come back early. We're going to meet. So the fall, and it was agreed that they would. She agreed to what I said. She accepted my terms, and she says, yes, we will put out a press release that supports you.
on Saturday, she said that.
She said that she would on Saturday. She gave me already her word on Saturday. Now, the following day, as you know, on Sunday, Max and I did not speak at the Volksbühne because the event was cancelled. We spoke outside of it. Afterwards, we spoke at the cafe. After the event at the cafe, we stayed afterwards, and we had our text translated into German, because that very night, after speaking with Aneta, we crafted a text. That's what we did that night. We crafted a text that specifically said everything I've just told you, that just explained our side of the story and stood up in support of Max and I.
And it was translated to Inge
And so the following,
at the cafe.
that's right, at the
into
cafe
German.
after the event.
I even taped it,
Yeah.
the translation into German. I taped it.
Wow. So you had that brother whose name I now forget, but who is a party
Yeah, he had his
activist.
smartphone and translated it from the screen
Exactly.
of his smartphone.
Thank you for bringing that up. So Max and I together crafted the text. We emailed it to this brother who then has excellent translation skills, and he was able to on the fly read the English and translate it into German.
And lawmaker Inge agreed on the text.
Yes, in principle she agreed with it. She said it was fine.
That
And
was like midday, Sunday
that was
midday.
midday. It was in the afternoon.
Yeah, early afternoon. Early
That's
afternoon.
correct. Now, that means, yalla, now it's time for you to sign it. If you want to make some corrections or changes, you're welcome to do so. But this is the crux of it. You've agreed to it. This is what is necessary. Now you'll put your name on it, your signature on it, and your
letterhead.
Your letterhead.
And the symbol of
the party.
Of the Bundestag.
Of the Bundestag
As
that you...
Pau did, Beck did.
Exactly. Just as they used their credentials as members of parliament to smear us, you would use your same credentials to support us.
Yeah, they used the official symbol of the German parliament and of the German Republic. The official...
Wow. So that evening was Sunday evening. So Inga was already there at the event and she agreed. So then a couple hours later, we met with Inga and Aneta, who had now returned from another part of the country.
Probably from their country.
For one of the, I guess, a different part of Kür constituency. And there was this other brother who's also a party activist. And at the meeting, I was like, okay, well, here's the text. You've got the text. Why isn't this out yet? Why isn't this now published? And what they said was, we will publish it after you speak. And I said, no. I something doesn't smell right here. Look, I came here and I've been waiting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I've waited 4 days. You haven't said a word publicly in our defense. You want me to speak tomorrow in the Bundestag? Okay. Do this, put out this, and then I'll do it. If you don't, I'm not going to do it. Because then I have no leverage. If I go speak in the Bundestag, then how do I know that you're going to actually say something in my defense? And they said, no, we'll do it afterwards. And I was like, no, I'm not. And basically that blew it up. It didn't blow it up in an uncomfortable way, but I wanted to stick to my guns and insist on that because it was the only piece of leverage I had. And all three of them, the party members, the parliamentarians, were insistent that they were refusing to put out this press release until after I spoke in the parliament. So I wanted to just say, okay, yalla, fine, no problem. You don't want to put it out? I don't have to speak in the parliament. And then the other people came out and they said, listen, just do it. You came all the way here. They've already committed. They'll put it out as soon as you get to the place. They'll put it out right away.
But why after you spoke? Or after you?
I guess the idea was if they put out a statement in support of me, then it's out, and then the activists who are trying to shut us down would then leap into action again and try to cancel the hastily arranged new event that was happening.
That was kind of a secret event.
It was at a
hidden place.
Yes,
and
exactly.
With just most of them were interns.
I can't speak to who was there and who wasn't there because I'm not familiar with any of the politics involved. But apparently they were part of the motivation.
Even interns are important. I don't want to say anything against interns, but it wasn't publicly.
It wasn't announced. They were trying
because the new location and the new time. Okay, but
they were trying to avoid it. They were trying to avoid people like Gysi and others shutting down this alternative.
But they never publish it. Now you must explain
why they. I'm going to get to that right now. I'm going to explain.
And they even after you were
I'm
speaking
at the
Gysi confrontation, there was enough time to publish it.
Of course, listen. No, this is what happened.
Okay, you're going to tell us.
I'll say it? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, then I wanted to just say, forget it, because to me, if you can't do that, you've already betrayed me until now, and you're not even going to commit to standing up. Why should I do this? But my allies were saying, yeah, let's just do this, and they've already committed to blah blah blah. Okay, it involves me trusting people who I haven't seen a reason to do so, but okay. So the next day we spoke, everything went really well. We spoke, people in the audience seemed to really like what we had to say, and they appreciated our words.
They clapped,
they banged on the table, they nodded, they gave us, hugged us, they gave us warmth. And then, now they had said it is going to go out at that hour.
Yeah, I even heard that. I even heard that because I was standing around. Mm-hmm. I was there.
Sure enough, it did not go out. Even after we gave the presentation, and now there was no reason, because there's no more fear of the event getting shut down. The event's happened already. There's no reason for it not to go out.
You were.
I kept my side of the bargain.
You booked a plane ticket even for the next morning. You had a plane ticket for the next morning.
Of course, I had a plane ticket for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they still did not publish it. At that point, it was a total betrayal, and my name would continue to be smeared. They got what they wanted, which was me speaking in Parliament, but I didn't get the most basic, support from them. After they brought me out there and I, put myself on the line, they didn't even have the decency to publicly support me, even after day, and even after they said that promise that they would, vowed that they would. So at that point, everything played out the way you saw it. We tried to talk, and Max said, because people said, isn't this talking to the crowd? Isn't this preaching to the choir? What can we really do? And Max said, okay, you don't want us to preach to the choir? Yeah, let's go confront Gysi over his anti-Palestinian campaign, after his campaign to shut down critical discourse about Israel, and his attempt to stifle dissent and discourse around that. So when he said that, people clapped. It's on video, you know.
I heard it. I was there.
You were there? People clapped and they said, yeah, let's do it. Let's confront him. Okay. So we went to his office. Now,
even lawmakers.
Including lawmakers, including Annette, you know.
Inge.
So, yeah, so I wouldn't have known where to go, nor would I have, you know, initiated that. But that
you mentioned that you wouldn't know where the office is.
Of course not.
Neither me, because it's really a far way from your conference
It was so.
room till
It
his
took another
office.
20 minutes to get
Yeah,
there.
through-
all these back alleys and staircases and elevators and
And under the ground,
underground.
a tunnel
Yeah,
under the ground. It's really far away. It's
incredibly far away. I only would have got there because they let us there, and I have no way of getting. You know. Anyways, we got there. We waited.
And normally you wouldn't have a permission to go there without them.
Also, I'm sure. And so we went and we waited to talk to him. And he didn't even want to talk to us. And you know what happened, because you filmed it, and so you know everything that happened afterwards.
It's
He didn't want to
on
talk
my
to
YouTube
us,
channel.
and he felt like, you know, he's too good to even acknowledge us. And you've seen everything that happened.
What do people not know is that even at the lunch, after the confrontation, 3 lawmakers and you and Max had a lunch
Yeah.
at the Bundestag casino, or at the Bundestag cafeteria. And I heard the conversation between Annette and you, that you asked her finally again, what about publishing this letter?
That's correct. That's
Statement,
correct.
and she said it will be published
Yes.
right now, or maybe it has been already
Yeah.
published. And she said I have to talk by phone to my office, to my secretary,
Exactly.
and
She
it
said
wasn't published because
And it wasn't.
I was online and I didn't receive anything,
Nothing.
and it hasn't been published. So she
To me,
said the
it-
wrong thing again at the lunch. Do you remember
Yeah,
that
yeah,
conversation?
yeah. And I just, of course
You
I do.
recall it,
Of
yeah.
course I do.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do.
of course I remember that conversation. So, as I said in the article that I wrote for Mondo Weiss, you know, like, it's a good thing that there's parliamentarians who want to expose the German public to what's really going on, and so bringing in critical journalists who will speak to that to German audiences. But why were Max and I chosen? Why not Mohammed Omar to speak about his reporting from Gaza? Why not plenty of other journalists who can speak to the same, you know, yourself, you know, and others? And part of the reason must be the fact that we are both Jewish, Max and myself, and that I'm Israeli. And so by inviting Jews and an Israeli, these parliamentarians hoped to shield themselves from accusations of anti-Semitism. The fact is that when people stand up in support of rights of Palestinians and in critique of the State of Israel, then immediately people lob completely unfair accusations of anti-Semitism against anyone who makes these criticisms. And by bringing in Jewish people to say these very criticisms, it's hoped that will, defend you from these accusations. Well, how could you call me being anti-Semitic? It's Jews themselves saying
Jews hater.
Judenhasse. And
Judenhasser. Yeah.
Judenhasse. And so, okay, you brought us in specifically because we're Jews. Yeah, Yofi. Okay, great. I have no problem doing that. I have no problem going there and speaking, because I will speak to anyone who's willing to listen. Like, I'm horrified by the things that I see. That's why, I report on this, because I'm horrified by it. I would like it to end. I would like to be able to report on boring, conventional things. Unfortunately, these horrific things are occurring all around me. Anyone who's willing to listen, I'm willing to tell them what's happening, so that hopefully there will be a movement to stop these things. So anyone who invites me, I'm going to speak. But if you're going to invite me specifically because I'm Jewish, to defend you from accusations of anti-Semitism, and then when your media and your own political party then organizes a campaign to smear me publicly in order, and accuse me of these very same things that you were hoping to shield yourself from, and then you yourself are completely absent, and you evade all responsibility and are silent, and even after you admit to and commit to coming out in support and standing in support, and you still fail to do so and don't even stand by your word and take advantage of us and use us as Jew shields, you've totally betrayed me, and it's low politics as far as I'm concerned. It's a very low level, and you can't have any complaints afterwards of the fact that that we came out and stood up for ourselves and demanded that people who engage in a campaign of smearing us as supposed anti-Semites, calling them on it. These are disgusting accusations, as I already explained to you, and standing up for our own names. You can hardly protest when you had plenty of opportunities to protest and defend us publicly. You didn't do so. You exploited us, so you can hardly be upset afterwards if we stood up for our own name. Now you want to run away. Now you say you have nothing to do with this. Okay, you had everything to do with this, but you can do whatever political maneuvering you want to for your, that's what politicians do all over the world, and it's sneaky when it's low when other people do it, and it's low when you do it. But then to start to claim that other people are responsible for breaking up the Palestinian solidarity movement, it's your own cowardice. If you only had the courage to stand up for your convictions, what you wanted other people to stand in your stead and say, if you only stood for that, then you would be in a better moral position. You have only yourselves to blame if you're going to cowardly slink and scurry in the halls of Parliament and be afraid to make public statements in support of, but you want other people to stand in your stead. Well, you have only yourselves to blame for any ricochets that you receive afterwards. I'm not losing any sleep over politicians who are now crawling back to the party that all that's doing is strengthening the hands of these bullies who are trying to silence dissent on Israel. Those are the people that who are trying to crush the Palestinian solidarity movement, and who seemingly are succeeding with the help of those lawmakers who are more worried about their own political careers rather, and not for standing up for what's right, and not for standing up for in solidarity of the issues. And
a very last question.
Sure.
I came today all along from Khan Yunis in the Gaza Strip to the desert city of Dimona to see how you live and to do this interview. And Gysi is accusing you of spreading Jew hatred.
Is he?
Yes. In the Morgenpost of the November 6th. The November.
Well, he
6th
endorsed the
article.
campaign. Yes, he endorsed the campaign.
So let me ask
calling
you.
us
Now I
Jew
see
haters, yeah.
you live in Dimona, and
Yes.
all around you there are Jews. I see
Yes.
so many Jews
Yes.
around you,
Yes.
including your own wife.
No, my wife is not Jewish.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Okay,
okay.
so but all your neighbors,
Yes.
in your house,
99.99%
all the people in the city.
Yes,
When you
that's
picked me
correct.
up from the bus station,
Yes.
there were even there Jews at
Yes,
the
there
bus
were.
station.
Yes, there were.
So how can you live here if you are a Jew hater? So if you are a Judenhasser, how is it possible? How can you
Yeah.
live here? There are so many Jews around you.
Yeah. Look, first of all, obviously it's a ridiculous accusation. I will openly admit to harboring negative feelings towards people who are racist. I think that everyone has the ability to change, but people who express racism, who hold racist views and then express that racism, and more to the point, participate in state-sponsored racism. To me, these individuals are condemnable. They must be condemned, and they must be called out. And that's what I'm doing. Now, unfortunately, in the society I live in, sadly, because of state-sponsored racism that is encouraged by the government, sadly, racist views are prevalent and are common. You don't need to take my word for it, although I have personal experience from living in the society for all these years that can attest to that. But disregarding my own, personal experiences, there are also statistics and scientific studies where people are polled and asked on their opinions. They are published in all the Israeli newspapers, and you can see that a huge percentage of the Israeli population wants separation. Even from citizens of the country. We're not just talking about Palestinians who live in Gaza and Palestinians in the West Bank. We're talking about even Palestinian citizens of Israel, non-Jewish citizens of the country. Many Israelis, if it's 50%, if it's 45, or it's 55, or more or less, we're talking about huge masses of the Jewish population who do not want non-Jewish people living in the same building as them, who do not want non-Jewish students studying in the same schools as them.
Have the citizenship.
We're talking about non-Jewish people who have citizenship in the country, Palestinian citizens of Israel. Arabs, Palestinians.
But they do not want them to have the citizenship.
Okay, we can parse the different specific questions. We can talk about many. There are people who actually want to disenfranchise them and denaturalize them, but I'm talking about not even. Yes, there are people. I know. I'm talking about specific statistics that I have seen published in major daily newspapers, talking about half of the Israeli Jews not wanting a non-Jewish person in their school or in their building. That's the level of support that ethnic segregation has in this country. Now, that's horrific. It's horrific that half of the people are only willing to tolerate people of the same ethnic group as them in the school system, in their neighborhoods. And yes, I will call that out, and I will criticize that. Yes. And in the bus system, transport. And we can talk on and on and on about racism in Israeli society and how prevalent it is. And unfortunately, this is a sad fact. And yes, I will continue to report on this. And why do I live here despite all this racism? Sadly, racism is everywhere. I was born in Canada. There's racism in Canada.
Racism is in Germany.
There's racism in Germany. We just heard this evening about the homes of refugees being torched. We know about, in the United States, people being shot up in the street. Every 28 hours, a black person is either killed by either the police or racist vigilantes. There's racism, and there's other problems too. And wherever I live, in whatever society I live in, I am going to call out the horrific racism, sexism, homophobia, and all the other forms of persecution and discrimination, because I care about the society that I live in. So that's why I do these things. I'm not motivated to dislike people because of the ethnic group that they belong to, or because of their spiritual beliefs. That's not my motive. I'm not motivated to convince other people to dislike people for those reasons. But what to do if I live in a society that's mainly Jewish, and which the government is completely Jewish, and it calls itself Jewish, and uses the reins of power in order to discriminate against people who are not Jewish? Then, by definition, if I'm going to be calling out racism in the society, I'm going to be calling out state-sponsored Jewish supremacy, which is the government-sponsored form of racism that's most prevalent here. And frankly, every person who considers themselves an anti-racist should do the same. And any conflating of that, calling criticism of racism anti-Semitism, is spitting in the face of people who are actually the victims of anti-Semitism, actually the victims of Juden Hass. And not only that, but it weakens those few people in the society who are working against racism. You are weakening our hand, and you are strengthening the hands of people who want more racism and more discrimination and more separation and segregation in the society by trying to silence the voices that are crying out for help, that are trying to bring these problems to the attention of the country and of the world. By silencing our voices, you are, silencing dissent and papering over these abuses and ensuring that they will continue and only increase.
David, are you an anti-Zionist?
My answer to that is you really have to define what Zionism is, because it can mean so many different things. Everyone defines it differently. That conversation is an interesting one, but we'd have to spend a lot more time breaking down what the terms even mean.
Next interview.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Martin Lejeune from Dimona.